It's been 14 years since 9/11, and this month for 630, Jodelle Maglaya sits down with residents around town who share their experiences on this tragic event and the making of Naperville's 9/11 Memorial.
It seems that Naperville doesn't stand still for long when tragedy strikes. Thus was the spirit behind the Dan Schanauer 9/11 Memorial. Though it was driven by a national tragedy, it was brought home as we also lost a native son that day.
Lieutenant Dan Schanauer from Naperville, grew up 4 blocks away from my house. I really didn't know him that well. He was killed at the Pentagon. Kind of a weird side story was a friend of mine from the Fairfax Urban Search and Rescue Team was a search team manager at the Pentagon, and he's the one that found Lieutenant Commander Schanauer. So he sent me an email, said, "Hey, I found your guy from Naperville." I go, "Wow." I didn't even know where he was. I haven't heard his name forever. So with that said, unfortunately, he passed away, and along with everybody else.
It was the sacrifice that Schanauer made that brought the town together and reminded everyone that freedom isn't free.
Well, after all this happened, everybody, felt really, really touched and in need of healing for Dan Schanauer and his family, and so the community came together and wanted to do some sort of a memorial to not only honor him, but everybody who was killed that day.
Mayor at the time, George Prado, decided to bring a group of community leaders, friends of the Schanauers, and local residents together to form a 9/11 commission.
We had the members of the commission, but we also had so many members of the community who really cared and had great ideas.
The memorial became one of a kind, with many volunteers giving their time and resources. Students in District 203 also became a large part of the picture, as they were the artists responsible for the wall of 140 different faces.
That was done with the idea of involving the children and their interpretations of many of the people who lost their lives that day. And so there was another group which at this point I don't remember who did that. Like I said, we were separated kind of. We couldn't do all things for everything. So they did that aspect. They cast it separately.
Alongside the 48-foot backdrop that includes an eternal flame is a centerpiece with Dan Schanauer's boot prints and fragments from the crash sites.
The pieces of the stone that you see on there under the plexiglass is from the Pentagon. Darlene Singer got it from us, she was our state rep. And the marble that it's all on is from Pennsylvania, where the other crash was.
The capstone is a beam that was brought over by the efforts of Worley, who remembers being part of Ground Zero search and rescue team like it was yesterday.
My first thing would look like a movie set. I don't know why it stuck in my mind like that, just to seeing the destruction like that. The hardest thing down there wasn't the victims. It was more the police and firemen that survived that were walking around, in tears because their dads, their brothers, uncles, all the people they worked with and knew were dead or couldn't find them. So that's probably the hardest part in the 10 years or the 10 days we were down there.
The memorial also has 2 stones describing the significance of the monument and the other with the biography of Dan Schanauer. He is also remembered by a bench engraved with the words he used in an essay commemorating 4 fallen shipmates. Freedom isn't free, which his parents are reminded of every day.
I think it is wonderful that the community remembers and honors all those who were lost. But no, for parents, there isn't closure.
Just isn't there.
The memorial was dedicated on September 11, 2003, and officially named Lean on Us. Each year since its completion, a 9/11 remembrance ceremony has been held where hundreds gather at the site and place a wreath to remember Schanauer and the thousands that lost their lives on that tragic day.
That's what I think is so special about the memorial. Parents, grandparents can bring their grandchildren, and we've got a place to tell the story. I just think I think stories are so important for children, and you just go there and you can tell the story of 9/11 in a way that children understand, and they remember.
And for Worley, who saw the effects of the 9/11 attacks firsthand, it's a day he will forever hold dear to his heart. I'm Jodelle Maglaya for 630.